Right, now before we start this video, okay, I'd just like to say that this is a little disclaimer that I am not an expert on health and nutrition. I mean, look at me. Do I look like a fine figure of fitness and health? Maybe I do, who knows. But anyway, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not an expert, okay. This is just coming from the sort of common man, the jagged commoner, as it were. Just basically sharing my little bit of experience, my little bit of knowledge, and obviously answering the questions to you guys. All right, so don't go suing me arse off if I tell you to eat something that you shouldn't be eating. All right. Hello folks, how you doing? It's Des Catties, currently in the shed for a minute. The purpose of this video is basically continuing to answer some of my subscribers' questions. I recently had an email from somebody asking about rations, about how I plan my rations, whether I'm going out for a day, weekend, and also leading on to my water. Okay, so what I wish to do is obviously share with you some of the things that I go through when I'm planning for whether it's a day or a weekend, or even in the past when I've done sort of hikes and such like in the mountains and stuff like that here in the UK and abroad. Alright, so stay tuned for another hopefully entertaining and educational video. So here in the UK, for example, we're encouraged to eat 5 different fruits or 5 different pieces of veg every day. Encouraged to drink, you know, sort of a minimum of 2 litres of water. That's just for kind of like the average person. But I think for what we do, for going out into the outdoors, okay, whether it's bushcraft, whether it's mountain climbing, mountain biking, whatever it is, just the title, just them labels alone, kind of in a way make you think about energy, don't they? Makes you think about exercise as well. A lot of these sports, for example, now rock climbing, you know, climbing walls, there's climbing walls in fitness centres and such like. People are taking on mountain biking. I believe from the lockdown that took place here last year in the UK, I believe that sort of treadmills, bikes and all that stuff, the sales went up because obviously a lot more people are at home, so they were obviously encouraging themselves to obviously train at home, you know, get the old dumbbells out and all the rest of it. But anyway, maybe I'm digressing now, but it's obviously all energy. It's energy, it's calories that we are burning off all the time when we are outside. When you think that we burn quite a lot of calories just sitting on our backsides indoors, maybe on our phones, watching the telly or looking on our laptops and computers, all right, when we actually do get outside and take, for example, this time of year right now, it's still quite, you know, we're almost into early spring. It's still quite cold. It has been quite cold in the UK. You know, when you compare us to other countries like Canada and countries like that, even just Scotland, you know, if we just go on the country of Great Britain, all right, you know, certain countries and certain locations have had the kind of a lot more snow, maybe colder temperatures and such like. Here where I live, in the southeast of England, it has been quite cold. At times it's been sort of like down to -2, -3 degrees, but it has been quite windy, and with that with the wind brings the wind chill factor, and obviously that reduces the temperature further to about -7, -8 degrees, okay, which probably is nothing, as I say, when it compares to, for example, Canada, Sweden. You know, them 2 countries are obviously what's springing to mind right now. So everywhere else, please don't get offended by that. So with that in mind, okay, obviously with us, just when we are outside and we are carrying a rucksack, or we are even just getting a fire going, putting a shelter up, whatever it is we're doing, just the simple fact that we're outside, okay, our bodies are going to start consuming lots of energy and lots of calories. So with that, we need to obviously restock on our bodies. We need to obviously fuel our bodies, whether it's with water or liquids, whether it's with food or whatever it is, okay, we need to obviously stock up on our body. So what are the good things that we need to take out when we're obviously going out bushcrafting it, or when we're going up into the hills or whatever it is? Now, to my mind, it makes sense to obviously take sort of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates obviously going to give you energy, okay, they're going to give you that warming feeling, but then you want to contribute into that proteins as well. Proteins maybe from meat. If you're not a meat eater, then you might want to incorporate other ways with different green veg and stuff like that, okay. Now, for me personally, I am a meat eater, but I'll also eat vegetarian food, and I don't even mind eating kind of vegan food. All right, so I'll mix it up, as you often see in my videos. For breakfast, I will sometimes mix it up with either having a simple porridge. But with my porridges, I tend to make them up myself. The porridges I normally make up with hemp powder. I normally have peanut butter powder. I normally put chia seeds in there and stuff like that to make them a little bit more wholesome, but also at the same time to obviously, you know, stock up on my body, give me that slow energy release. All right. Now, for example, now if we just take this little pouch here. Now, this is just a little flat pouch. Normally when I'm out for the day, all right, I will obviously take this out. Normally I'll always plan to maybe do bacon, you know, bacon and eggs, something like that. It's nice to have a little fry up when I'm out, and it's nice just to share it with you guys when I'm doing that. But if I'm having porridge, all right, what I will do, which I think I've got one made up here. Now basically this is my porridge, okay, this is a porridge that I make up. Now you can make it up completely from scratch, you know, buy a bag of porridge, but what I do like to use is they're basically like a 10k fuel kind of porridge. They're supposed to be good for people that are into sports and stuff like that, and I suppose it goes hand in hand with me doing quite a bit of running, says the smoker. All right, but in here, for example, I've got raisins. As I say, there's hemp powder in there, I've got protein powder in there, and then all I've got to do then, sometimes I put milk powder in there, mix up the water. I can drink it straight out of the bag, or I can pour the contents into my cup with the hot water and drink it that way. All right, so I obviously like to take something like that as well. I mean, I'll even eat that for lunch. I haven't got an issue with eating that for lunch, but again, that's down to you, the personal, you know, that's down to you as an individual. So to me it makes sense to sort of eat stuff that's obviously going to slow release calories, you know. As I say, I do like to eat bacon and eggs and stuff like that, and the sausages, and do all the sort of cooked sort of so-called English breakfast and stuff like that. But obviously if I was going into the hills, you know, your resources maybe are going to be a little bit more limited. You're going to be packing a little bit lighter, so you might then want to opt for stuff like porridge and foods like that, or even cereal bars. You know, even cereal bars are pretty good. One of the guys who goes camping with us, John, the old fella, John Martindale, he always sort of brings these kind of porridge oats kind of bars, and he eats a lot of those. I like those as well. I'll even combine them sometimes with my porridge and crush them up in there. Okay, I mean at the moment in the little flat pack that I've got that I take out with the Steuben, there's 2 of those in there. All right. So if I continue on, also what I do is I keep in here, I mean at the moment there's not a great deal else in here. I keep some, just a small packet of noodles, and then I keep some seasoning in there, which is in the form of some pepper. Sometimes I take chili with me, and so on and so forth. So if I'm going out just for the day, yeah, I will bring maybe some bread, or I might even mix up some bannock, okay. And then have that in combination with my eggs and bacon, or if I'm eating something a bit more healthy, mushrooms and spinach and stuff like that as well. Okay, I do apologise if you can hear, because I'm obviously recording this in my shed right now. There's someone revving the arse out of their vehicle across from me, so I do apologise for that. All right, so obviously, you know, with the foods, it's quite important that when you're planning your day, it's obviously, even during the hot weather, you know, you need to obviously look after the old body, look after the old core, and ensure it's warm, almost treat it like a car engine, which means obviously that you've got to put fuel into it, whether it's in the form of foodstuffs or whether it's in the form of liquid, whether it's regards to water or hot drinks and such like, or even cordials. Now that brings me quite nicely sedgeways ever so slightly into my brew kit. Now, you always see in my videos, it's just a bit of a thing now that every time, as soon as I go out, one of the things I like to do, you'll always see me drinking a brew, whether it's coffee, whether it's tea, whether it's hot chocolate or whatever, even soups, which can come in the forms of these sort of things. All right. Obviously, I like to just mix it up a bit. Now, this is my brew kit. All right, now in my brew kit, I like to have, every now and again, I like to put the old 3-in-1 sachets in there. I was watching a video quite recently. I think it was one of Dave Canterbury's videos I watched, and also it might even been one of his older ones, I can't remember, but it was also him and Corporal's Corner. And now, being that they're Americans, and they're normally quite sort of almost famous for their coffee, but you always see them drinking coffee, black coffee and everything else. And I can remember Corporal's Corner that was making a little thing some time ago about, he wants to find out what the best coffee is and such like. And I noticed that the pair of them are kind of, they like to have the old 3-in-1 coffees, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, I like a 3-in-1, I like the 3-in-1s, and I used to have them hell of a lot more than probably what I do now. Well, what I do like about the 3-in-1s, excuse me, is for people like us, that when we do go into the outdoors, if we don't want to take, say, like an AeroPress, I do sometimes take the AeroPress with nice fresh coffee and have a brew that way. I do like to have milk in my coffee. I do like to have a little bit of sweetness, so I will either carry honey. The only thing I find with honey is that, especially during these winter months, it kind of solidifies in the bottle. So what I've done to kind of replace that, I started carrying a little tub of sugar, and literally have a little, and I'll put a tiny bit of sugar into there. Simple reason, because it just doesn't freeze. All right, so obviously I've got my sugar in there. I've got my bag of tea bags there. I've got my bag of this milk powder is Nido. I'll show you the tin. All right, I'll keep it in the shed as well. Nido, okay, it's quite a sweet milk, but most people that I've put onto it have really enjoyed it. Now, it was John Martindale that actually put me onto it in the first place. He made some bannock bread, and what he done was, rather than just using normal dried skim milk powder in one of his ingredients to make his bannock bread, he actually replaced it with Nido. And when we actually ate his bread that he'd made, it tasted like like hot cross bun, not hot cross buns, but scones. It tasted like it had that taste of like a scone. Okay, here in the UK, in some seaside places you go to, you can normally get a scone, and you'll normally have a tea and scones, and the scones will come out with some clotted cream, butter and jam, and you can combine that into it in that lovely kind of delicacy there. But he actually replaced his dried skim milk powder with the Nido, and it was really nice. Okay, so I have that in my brew kit as well. I also carry some coffee bags, okay, because very occasionally I might just have a complete black coffee with nothing. I also carry some effervescent vitamin C tablets. All right, and then that's all that's in there now. I obviously keep, that's the lid to my Pathfinder cup, and then I've just got a couple of wrappers in there. Oh, I've got one 3-in-1 sachet there, all right, as well. All right, so it just sort of I just like to mix it up. I mean, here's this little tub here, literally has got 3-in-1 sachets in there. So what I'll do, I'll pick a few up, stick them in there. Sometimes I'll drink the tea, and then other times I'll drink the coffee, the 3-in-1s, or I'll take out the AeroPress or something like that and have a decent coffee. All right, but at the end of the day, it's down to you as an individual. Now, when I go back to when I was doing the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, I was being that I qualified as a summer mountain leader, okay, many years ago. When I was involved teaching young people the skills for obviously going camping, navigation, erecting tents and all that sort of stuff, from all the way from a bronze level right the way through to gold. especially when I was working with golds. Now the golds we normally used to work, that's the top level, they have to walk 50 miles over 4 days, and most of the time, a majority of the time, it was in one of the national parks dotted around the UK. Okay, not so much in Scotland, but it would be somewhere like the Peak District, Dartmoor, Wales, in regards to the Brecon Beacons, and stuff like that. And then even the training weekends or the training times, I would be away with these people, training them up, getting them ready for their assessments. Okay, now these are the ration packs I used to knock up. Well, this is one that I've kept for, I've had it for, you know, it's got to be about sort of six or 7 years old, I reckon, at the moment. Now basically what I used to do is I used to make up all these kits, put them into vacuum sealed bags, and I used to store them in a box. And literally what I used to do is when I was going away for a weekend, rather than my wife having to sort of like, you know, get me a load of foodstuffs in, what I would do is I would make up my own filing system with a ton of these in, or ton, but make up a load of these. And then what I would do is literally like a filing system, I'd go for, oh yeah, I'll have that. And I literally would make up my own, where I had a breakfast meal in it, a lunch meal, and then obviously an evening meal. Okay, stuff that was very simple, stuff that I could either eat dried or I could just add hot water to it. You know, I could, you know, I would take a water purifying system with me, whether it was my Sawyer. Back then I didn't have the Growl like I can use now. And then what I would do is I would even take water from streams and such, like disinfect that water, sterilize it, and then obviously boil it, and then use that as my means of diluting some of the products, the foodstuffs that I would carry in these ration packs. Okay, now some people like to use these kind of ration packs. Again, they're sort of like this is obviously a patrol combat ration pack, 24-hour ration pack. This is an army one, and I sort of I like some of the foodstuffs out of here. When I get hold of them, I will sort of you know, if you've been in the military, I know from when I served in the army, normally when we was out for a period of time, you'd get your stack of ration packs and you'd literally open them all up and then obviously take what you wanted out of them, because when you was carrying a week, 2 weeks worth of rations, it made your rucksack extremely heavy, okay, with all the other specialist equipment that you're carrying. Okay, so you obviously wanted to obviously sort of, you know, keep your food down, you know, food to for that duration, but sometimes you often found yourself carrying too much food. Okay, so you know, with the ration packs you could strip them down and obviously take what you wanted from them. Now obviously this all comes down to your own personal plan. Okay, it's not a bad thing to obviously snack throughout the day if you're walking. If you're for example doing some long distance walking, or you might, you know, you could be walking the Highlands Way, you could be walking the Appalachian Trail and all the rest of it. I'm sure probably when you got up in the morning, like myself, normally what I would do is I would get up quite early, walk for a few miles, okay, before it started to get too hot. Then I would stop, have some breakfast in the form of porridge and such like. Then I would be snacking throughout the day, wouldn't really stop and have a lunch as such unless it was something a nice viewpoint that I wanted to look at, and then I would continue on. And then once I'm at my base camp, or once I'm at my next checkpoint, as it were, where I'm setting up, where I'm camping for the night, then that's where I would have my main meal. And I would then try and take into account that possibly I'm somewhere where near, whether it's, if I'm in an actual campsite, obviously there's going to be a water source there. There might even be toilets and showers and such like. But if we're somewhere that's a little bit more remote, we're out in the sticks somewhere, then obviously it's not a bad idea in part of your planning is obviously to work out somewhere where not only are you going to pitch up your tent to make sure that it's free from all those sort of you know, from sort of, you know, the ground getting wet, flooded, you know, there's no ants nests, no falling trees, widowmakers, all that kind of stuff. You need to take all that into consideration as well. So with that, you know, I would obviously, as part of your pre-planning and preparation, okay, it's not a bad thing to have a look at your maps if you're going somewhere a little bit remote, and seeing if there's sort of suitable locations or resources for you to be able to sort of restock on water and stuff like that. Now it's not a bad thing as well, you can carry fresh foods, but obviously again take that in consideration if you are going to be doing that from the summer months. Just be careful what you're taking. It might not be a bad idea if you've got access to a food hydrator, vacuum sealer and stuff like that. That's not a bad idea in preparing your food, because at the end of the day what you're carrying on your back, all right, is obviously it's going to be quite it's obviously going to make your pack, okay, reasonably heavy with all your excess other kit, your tarps, and you know, I'm kind of flitting between, you know, sort of camping in a woodland and obviously being out on a hill, for example, but you know, obviously all this gear that you're going to be carrying on your back, okay, is obviously going to take up weight. All right, now it wouldn't be a bad thing as within your pre-planning, okay, is obviously to get yourself into a standard of fitness where you're able to carry that load, okay. And not only that, going running will improve your cardiovascular, it will help you to lose weight, and it's also not a bad thing because you'll probably find yourself as well consuming slightly less food when you're a little bit more when you're obviously a little bit more healthy, because your body isn't going to be as stressed as much as it was as if you were someone that was unfit. Okay, now as I say, in my box now, if I show you, I'll flip the camera around and you can have a look. Now this is my box, and this is I've got a lot of different foodstuffs in here. All right, obviously I've got noodles at the moment. Right at the top there's some gravy. I'll keep mashed potato. I've got some of these porridges that you get in the tubs. I mean, this is what I would do to sort of turn it into a oh, where's my porridge gone? But basically what I would do is empty the contents of that into a resealable bag, and then I would add my milk powders and such like to that. Alright, I've got other stuff in here. I mean, here's some meat rubs. These were given to me by a chap from America. Okay, pasta and sauces are not a bad one to use, again because they only take water. Some different sauces. Again, what you might want to do is obviously, for example, if you're going to take that as your meal, where that's a soup, you might want to use that in liquid form, so you might want to mix that up with your main pasta meal and then mix it up together, okay, and so on and so forth. I mean, what I sometimes do, I like to take some rice with me. You know, I like some of the curries as well, that you get some of these sort of creations with the beans in it. They're one thing about them is that they're obviously a healthy meal, because of all the the chorizo they've got in chipotles and all that sort of stuff. The beans, again, which are all sort of slow release foodstuffs, you know, for the stuff that we do. I've also got here, these are like rosties, and they're basically like a potato, and they'll have ham in them and everything else, and literally you can just open it and pour it into a pot or something like and cook it as is, or because it's in a mylar bag you can literally just fold it over, stick it into your cooking system and cook it that way as well. So there's just a few things. Now I don't want to sort of you know, as I say, this is just basically giving you a little a small kind of angle of how I do. Now bearing in mind this is very fractured, I haven't actually sat down and rehearsed this video or anything, it literally is just coming from the top of my head right now, okay. So with the foods, I mean, again, you know, if you want to take meat, if you want to take cheeses, you can take cheese. Now, a way to carry cheese, if you've not got it in a tube form, if you want to carry a solid lump of cheese, put it inside a bag and then soak the bag in cider apple vinegar, and then normally that will keep for quite a duration. That will keep for about a week or so. So there's one suggestion, okay, if you want to take cheese. Some people like to take sort of some of the drier cheeses, parmesans and stuff like that, but for me personally, I can't stand the smell of it, let alone the taste, okay. I do like Primula cheeses, which is in like almost like a you know, like a toothpaste kind of tube, and so on and so forth, okay. So with that then, what I want to quickly do then is quickly talk about water. Before I talk about the water, going back to sort of foodstuffs and such like that, now this is fruit leather. It almost looks like sort of bacon, doesn't it? But this is apple fruit leather. I've had this for a couple of years now, vacuum sealed, okay, and I literally made it in my dehydrator. I picked the apples from off a tree close to me out in the fields, okay, took the apples home, mashed them all down, blah blah blah, and I made myself some fruit leather. So again, this is another option to obviously take with you. Alright, now as I said with the soups, like, you know, for example these mug shots, great to have on their own, but maybe if you've got just a normal plain bag of rice, even some of the pre-cooked rices, very cheap, you know, the microwavable stuff, you literally can put, what was that? Oh, bow saw. Me bow. So literally what you could do with these, okay, is mix up the water, okay, mix them in water, add that to your rice or to your harder food stuff, whether it's a pasta and stuff like that, and then obviously spruce it up that way. Carrying bags of jerky. I haven't got no jerky in stock at the moment. Normally what I do is I make my own jerky because I've got a dehydrator. So what I'll do is I'll get some beef, whether I'll keep it plain or I'll season it with pepper, chili flakes and stuff like that, dry that out, and then obviously then what I'll do is I'll put that into different bags, into different vacuum sealed bags, something like that, and then vacuum the food up. Now I'm no expert when it comes to vacuum sealing. I really am quite I really do keep my stuff quite basic, all right, but again, this is something that you could possibly do yourselves, okay, with part of your planning and stuff like that for when you're actually going out and about. So now leading on to water and stuff like that. Now some of the locations that I go to, obviously when I've been doing these videos during the lockdown, what I normally do, I normally carry two sort of 1.5 litre, 2 litre bottles or 32 ounce bottles with me in my kit. And then sometimes what I'll do, depending on how long I'm staying out, normally they'll last me a day. If I'm going out any longer, then I'll take a water purifier with me, whether it's in the form of a Grail, or I've got a soya filter, or I've got an MSR filter. I'll take one of those with me. Now, not close to where I go to, where I'm out from the day, there is lakes there. I mean, they're not the greatest, but obviously if I go through the correct protocols of collecting the water, removing all the sediment from it and all that sort of stuff, and then boiling it, I can pretty much get away with drinking that water, okay, and using it in combination with the one of the water filters that I have. All right. Otherwise, if I go to another campsite location, what I'll do is the woodland that we go to, not far, there's a farmer's trough. We don't collect the water from the actual trough itself, but inside there's an overflow pipe, and what we normally do is take the panel off, and then we can fill our water bottles up that way. We don't have to worry about, there's not that many waterways to be able to actually collect the water, okay, to be able to obviously then go through that kind of protocol. So we've got that advantage to be able to take it from the trough. If I'm going to, say, my mate Dave Fry's wood, we normally, because we drive in with our vehicles aren't too far away, but that's not to say that I'll bring loads and loads of stuff in anyway. But what I'll often do is I'll bring in, like, I might even take sort of like this kind of size water. I think that's a 5 litre. I've also got one by Rigid Monkey, which is a bit more chunky, and that's a 10 litre one. Sometimes I take that. Normally I tend to take that more so in the summer months. There is also a stream there at the end, which I sometimes use. I have used it a few times, but again, obviously needing to be a little bit careful, obviously, going into your process, your protocols when it comes to selecting and collecting your water. Okay, so normally if I'm going out, I'm going out very shortly, okay, so what I will do is, as I say, I'll have 2 bottles of water, and they'll last me for the period of time that I'm out. If I'm going out for longer than 24 hours or longer than sort of 14, 18 hours, then what I would do is then I would obviously pack a something to obviously sort my water out, because obviously I'm out for that longer period of time. Yeah, I could get away with not bothering, but at the end of the day, I do like to drink a brew, as you well know, so obviously it's nice to have enough water on you for the period of time that you're out, all right, because not only that, it's helping you with obviously keeping your body clean, cleaning your pots and all that sort of stuff as well. All right, now folks, that's it. That's as far as I want to go. I've no idea how long this video is going to go on for anyway, but there it is. I hope I've answered some of your question when it comes to planning. As I say, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not an expert when it comes to foods, okay, it's basically down to you what you take. There's plenty of other videos where people will probably go into more depth. If you want to look at stuff from people that are nutritionists and maybe fathom your own kind of information out from that, then obviously go and have a look. That's what YouTube's there for, all right, but this is just my fractured knowledge, my fractured sort of approach of what I do when I actually go out. Okay, you've seen me cook burgers, you've seen me cook steaks, you've seen me cook all this sort of stuff. You know, kind of what limits you from some of the foodstuffs that you take is obviously, you know, your cells. You know, take into consideration, are you going to be using a Dutch oven? Are you going to just be using a frying pan? Are you going to be using titanium, stainless steel, aluminium, all this sort of stuff? They all have a little bit of tolerances when it comes to cooking on heat and such like. Okay, but again, that's down to you as an individual. I even take fish as well. Sometimes I'll take a salmon or even trout. I'll panache that over the fire, or even do something as simple as even just skewering a, you know, stick through the particular bit of meat and then cooking that on the fire. So it can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. Alright, so thanks for watching, folks. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I appreciate your comments and feedback. I mean, as I say, it's fractured, so if there's something I've forgotten or if there's something you need answered, just let me know. Folks, please, I don't mind if you want to email me and ask me a question if you're too sort of scared, or, you know, scared, but, you know, if you don't want to leave a message in the comments, then no worries, you can email me. Okay, and I'm quite happy to sort of try and answer your questions as best you can. I'll put a little bit of Des Catties slant on it. Alright, so take care, folks, stay safe. Alright, Des Catties, see you on the next video. Take care, folks.